guys, Victoria here. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is well. I can't believe it's been a whole week since I was last here talking to you all. I hope it's been a pleasant week for everyone. I'm just gonna waffle for a bit just until I wait and see who is joining me today. Hi Jules, I can see Jules has just joined. Do say hi. Hi Jeanette. It's so lovely to see some familiar faces every Tuesday. It really helps to sort of lift my mood and just to feel like I'm connecting with all of you. So it's really lovely if you are watching just to say hi in the comments. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about anxiety and grounding techniques. What I'm hearing for lots of you is that you are experiencing a lot of anxiety at the moment, so I thought it might be helpful to talk you through just a simple grounding technique to help you cope with that anxiety at home. Hi Jackie, hi Georgina, lovely to see you ladies. What I was just saying is that I'm going to talk through a grounding technique for helping to manage anxiety. Today, there are lots of different techniques that you can use. What I'm going to do is actually cover this in a couple of different videos because I don't want to bamboozle you with loads of information in one go. So today I'm going to be talking you through one grounding technique, and then I'm going to be covering something slightly different next week, but still on the same theme. Okay, so like I was saying, what I'm hearing is that lots of you are suffering with your anxiety at home. It is a very anxiety provoking situation. Anxiety, on a really basic level is fear, and I think there is a lot of fear that people are experiencing at the moment, and I think a lot of that is fear of the unknown. We don't really know what's going to be happening. This is a completely new and unusual situation, so to some extent anxiety is a perfectly normal thing to be experiencing at the moment, but at the same time it can be really unpleasant. So what I wanted to do is just talk to you about something simple grounding exercise that you could do at home to hopefully try and get some of those feelings under control. So for those of you that have never heard of grounding before, or you may have heard of it but aren't really sure what it means, a grounding technique is a type of coping strategy that is designed to ground you in or connect you in the present moment, in your surroundings. Now, if you're someone that suffers with anxiety, you will know that when you're in this really heightened state of anxiety, it can be really difficult to just snap out of that or to just get over it. And there's a couple of things that we do when we're really anxious that actually make it worse. The first thing is that we get cross with ourselves. When we're feeling anxious and in that really heightened sense of kind of anxiety or panic, we can then start to be, really critical of ourselves. So you shouldn't be feeling this way. Come on, pull yourself together. You'll criticize yourself, you'll judge yourself, and that just kind of layers the feeling. So you're anxious, but then you're feeling bad as well. And you're feeling bad about yourselves on top of the anxiety, and it just really doesn't help. I can see that we've got Janet and Gareth. Morning, guys. So lovely of you to join me. So the first thing that we do when we tend to feel anxious is, start to really criticize and berate ourselves, which just doesn't help. It's not going to help anyone doing that. Another thing that often happens when we're feeling anxious about one thing is that our brain tries to search for sort of evidence of, to corroborate the way that we're feeling. So we tend to look for other things to feel anxious about, things that are going to support, the anxiety that we already feel. So your mind will run away with you and be like, oh, you remember this time when this happened, and then this happened, and this is going to happen, and it can get into like this vicious circle, and your brain ends up like a washing machine where you can't really catch any of the thoughts to try and make sense of them. And when you do that, your anxiety just ends up being this huge thing that just feels entirely unmanageable. Hi Fiona, so lovely to see some familiar names this morning. I really needed to see your names underneath this post today, guys. Another thing that we do is sometimes we might go in and try and challenge our irrational and negative thoughts, which in itself is not a bad thing. You know, anyone that's been to therapy or any of the courses over at Reach will know that that is something that we do actively encourage. A lot of the negative thoughts that we experience aren't based on fact. You know, they're based on kind of the life experiences that we've had so far and the belief systems that we've adopted. So actually challenging your negative thoughts isn't a bad thing in itself, but when you are in the middle of a heightened anxiety, sorry, my cat is scratching the sofa, I'm just going to throw something at it. It was only a box of tissues, no cats were harmed. So when you're in the middle of like a really heightened period of anxiety, it can be really difficult to try and rationalise what's going on. So the reason why these don't work and the reasons why they often make things worse for us is because we're trying to bring reason and logic into our brain that is nowhere near logic or reason. So when you're anxious, you're really not thinking logically, you're not thinking rationally. You're not even able to access that part of your brain because you're in that deep flight or fright mode, looking out for the threat, trying to be ready for the attack. And, you know, your brain is priming you into that survival mode so that you're able to respond to that immediate threat. Now, the problem is that anxiety isn't always based on fact. It's not always based on actually what is in our immediate surroundings. So that threat that your body and your brain is priming you for isn't necessarily there. So most of the time you can't reason your way out of that. So, you know, challenging the negative thoughts is a really good practice to get into, but sometimes you need something that's just going to bring you back down on a level so that, you know, you can allow those sorts of alternative thoughts in. So this is where grounding comes in. So when we do a grounding exercise first, it gets us out of our heads. Usually when we're stuck in our head and all these thoughts are whizzing around, it just escalates. And what grounding will do is it will take you out of your head and into the environment around you. Because even though your brain is telling you that there's an immediate threat, the likelihood is that you're perfectly safe and that flight or fright response is unwarranted. And then when we feel more grounded, we can feel our feet on the ground, we start to feel more calm, and then we can go in and start to kind of try and reason with ourselves and make ourselves feel a little bit better and more in control of the situation and think a little bit more rationally. But first we need to kind of get ourselves from way up here to just down here, more on a calm and in control footing. So that's why we need to do the grounding exercise first. If you can't get in and talk yourself out of how you're feeling, then you need to get out of your head and into your environment so that you can show your brain that there's really nothing to fear. Hi Karen, just seeing that Karen has joined. I'm not sure how fast these comments move, guys, so if you've joined and you've said hi and I haven't noticed it, I'm really sorry. I will flick through the comments at the end once I'm done and try and respond to anyone that's commented. So the grounding technique that I'm going to show you today is really, really simple. You can do it at any time, any place, anywhere you are, at home, whether you're out, whether you're... where are you going to be at the moment? At home, maybe at work, out in the park. Anywhere that an anxiety attack presents itself, you can use this. People won't even know you're doing it. All it takes is remembering to do it. That is the tricky thing. So, it might even be worth having some sort of reminder with you on your person for when you are feeling particularly anxious to remind you to do these grounding exercises. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to talk you through, and the only one that I'm going to talk you through today, is the 5-4-3-2-1 exercise. So I've spoken about it before in a video about mindfulness. Mindfulness being another technique that you can use to connect you to the present moment and connect you to kind of the here and the now and what you feel in your body at the time. But the 5-4-3-2-1 technique works like this. So wherever you are, get out of your head by noticing 5 things that you see in your environment right now. So if you're indoors, it might be a table, a couch, a box of tissues, a rug, a lamp. If you're outdoors, it might be a car, a lamppost, a post box, a bin, a tree, whatever it is, just 5 things in the environment around you. Then it's 4 things that you feel. So these are not necessarily emotions. So you wouldn't say, you know, I feel happy or I feel sad or I feel angry. These are 4 things that you can physically feel. So, you know, you might want to rub your hands together so I can feel, you know, the feeling of my skin. You might say, oh, I can feel the chair underneath my bum, the floor underneath my feet. You might feel, you know, your bracelet hanging on your wrist. You might feel your hair on the back of your neck. You know, you might be doing this whilst walking around Tesco's, and it might be, you know, I can feel the trolley underneath my hands. It might be that you notice, you know, a bit of an ache in your back, or, you know, your ankles painful, or, you know, anything. It might be that you notice butterflies in your stomach. Just 4 things that you can physically feel at that time. Next up, it's 3 things that you can hear. Now I want you to really listen for this one, because normally, you know, sometimes when you're so caught up in your head, you're not really aware of what's going on around you. You know, I experience this a lot if I'm driving somewhere, especially if I'm driving somewhere that I drive to a lot. You know, I can be in the car and be at my destination without really paying attention to anything that's happened on the journey there, because I'm so caught up in my own head. I don't know if anyone else gets that. But if you really listen, you know, you can actually hear quite a lot, and you can surprise yourself with how far away you can hear as well. So, you know, if you're indoors, it might be that you can hear the whir of the fridge. It might be the faint sound of cars passing by on the road. Maybe it's the wind outside your window, or you can hear the trees moving. Right now I can hear next door's cat outside the back doors meowing to get in. I really confuses me, because I get confused and think it's my own cats, and it's not. But you know, the more you listen, the more you hear. I like to do this when I'm outside and I can hear the birds. And it's surprising that when you start listening out for things, like the birds, it's then like, how many different birds can I hear? You know, the more you listen out for, the more you tend to hear. So I quite like the one. Quite like this one. Moving on, after 3 things that you can hear, it's 2 things that you can smell. So this is a little bit more tricky, because our noses quickly get used to the smells around us. You know, they acclimatise quite quickly, and you know, that can be a good thing if you're somewhere that doesn't smell too good. So yeah, the smell thing can be a little bit tricky, but it might be that, you know, you can smell the fabric softener on your clothes, or it might be that you can smell, you know, the remnants of your breakfast. It might be, you know, that you can smell a candle that you lit the night before. If you genuinely can't smell anything, just really focus on taking a couple of really nice deep breaths. So in through your nose, out through your mouth. Really fill your lungs up. You know, just to really utilise that sense that you've got. And then the final one is finish by thinking about 1 thing that you're grateful for. It might be your home, it might be your pets, it might be your kids, your partner, it might be Mars bars, you know, anything. Just really try and focus in on one thing that you're grateful for. So that's 5 things that you, sorry, I've got a little co-star here. This is William, everyone. William, say hello. Oh, it's just, do you want to learn about some grounding techniques? Okay, so that's 5 things that, 5 things that you hear, 4 things that you feel, 3 things, 3 things that, no, I've got that wrong. So it's 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you're grateful for. Try not to let your mind run away with you when you're doing this. If you notice thoughts or feelings creeping in, just try and return yourself to the present moment. Let your thoughts pass by like a cloud. Our brains are meant for thinking. It's not, you know, unusual that we, you know, we catch ourselves thinking when we're trying to kind of be present in the moment around us. But thinking is not the point. It's thinking, generally speaking, that has got us into, you know, this anxious situation in the first place. So we want to try and, you know, keep thinking out, keep emotion out, and just focus on the factual things, the things that are actually around us, because those are the things that are going to ground us in the present moment. So 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, 1 thing that you're grateful for. And yeah, give it a go. There are other ways to ground yourself during anxiety or panic. I just wanted to focus on one today because I didn't want to kind of overcomplicate it. But what I'm going to do is next week I'm going to talk about how to create a safe space for yourself in your mind that you can escape to when you are feeling anxious or when you're feeling panicky. But I kind of feel like that's a whole chat in itself. So next week we're going to be doing another grounding technique. But I just wanted to focus on just doing one today, just so that you've only got one thing to focus on. So you might already use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. You might do something else when you're feeling anxious that works for you. Feel free to share in the comments, you know, if there's anything particularly that you do when you're feeling really anxious that really helps you. You never know who's going to read it, who it might help. So yeah. And I've just seen Kirsty ask what the cat's name is. That's William. He's prowling around the room at the moment, wanting to be the star of the show. I don't know where he's gone now. So yeah, that was William. I might bring along another one of my cats for next week's show, introduce you to the whole family. So yeah, I hope that's been of some help, guys. I'm going to let you all go. I hope you have a pleasant and rewarding Tuesday. If you have any questions, pop a comment underneath this video. I do always go back and try and reply to anyone that I might have missed during the live feed. So yeah, if you want to say hi or you want to kind of ask anything or leave any comments or suggestions for any future videos or anything that you do to cope with your anxiety, please do. And yeah, I'm going to let you go now. I hope you have a pleasant and rewarding Tuesday, and I will